Good morning. How's everyone doing? Good morning. All right, everyone, we are going to kick off day 2. I hope everyone had a great night last night. Seemed like people got a little mysterious down State Street.
Should we do the clap?
Yeah, do the clap. You're good at the clap.
Dude, I'm good at the
You're
clap.
really good.
All right, clap once if you can hear me. Now this is so fun. Clap twice if you can hear me. Clap 13 times. All right.
All right. Well, welcome to day 2. We are pumped for today's activities. Great lineup of speakers. We're going to keep our remarks pretty short here. Just want to give another shout out to Wrestling with Talent for sponsoring our breakfast and Bloody Mary bar. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Coleman.
They have some really awesome Yetis in the back there by the bar. Super cool, so grab one if you can. And I think Rick is keeping the bar open a little longer, so you can grab one there too.
And non-alcoholic drinks available as well.
Yes.
Which would just be orange juice.
Orange juice.
Okay, that's
and
how it works.
Tomato juice. But yeah, great stuff. We have a close competition here for the leaderboard for the Cove Connections. So definitely keep those badges tapping today. Leaderboards will be displayed throughout the venue. You can also scan this QR code to check that out. And just a reminder that we're giving away some free tickets to the top 3 folks with the most connections made at the conference. Want to give another shout out to our sponsors. Without them, this event would not be possible. So let's give them all one big round of applause. Thank you, everyone.
All right, since many of you have asked throughout the conference, just want to give you an idea of what's in the pipeline for programming over the next year or so. So right now, everybody is at CultureCon 2025. Up next, we have CultureCon West in Las Vegas. So that's November 3rd through 5th. It follows a very similar structure to what we did here. So it's kind of like a 3-day event, keynotes, breakouts, interactive workshops. So a little different energy than what's in Madison, but still an amazing time, and we'd love to have you join us out on the West Coast. Then, back in Madison in April, we're hosting our very first topic-centric conference. So that's called the AI Summit. It's going to be bringing together thought leaders from all over the world who are going to give presentations that are not only talking about how we can leverage these powerful tools for productivity and connection and engagement, but also the other side of the house, which is really exploring the anthropological lens of how these tools are going to influence how we think, feel, and behave in the years to come. So really excited for this event and would invite you to learn more on our website. So for CultureCon 2026, next year, back at the Concourse Hotel, August 4th through 6th, we're running a flash sale for everyone here today. So this is a 70% off coupon code. If you don't want to scan it now, it's also available in your print program, and we'll leave that running for a few days after the conference concludes. All right, just a couple quick housekeeping notes for logistics today, starting with our lunch experience. So this is our longest standing CultureCon tradition. So for lunch today, when you come out of your breakout rooms, volunteers are going to hand you voucher cards that look like the ones on screen. You can take those voucher cards and you can go and explore Madison's food truck scene in and around the Capitol Square, then all the way down State Street at Capitol Mall. And this is just a super fun way to get into groups, be able to make an adventure down State Street or through the Capitol and explore some of Madison's incredible ethnic cuisine. To give an idea of what vendors are available and how to get to where, you just have to scan the QR code on the voucher card that you'll be handed. And if you want to go in groups, the Connection crew has generously made themselves available. So when you come out of your breakout rooms, you can find Connection crew members that'll help form groups and then be able to take you down for that experience. All right, and then one more plug for Connection crews. So when we come back from lunch is when we're going to kick off a new thing this year. We're experimenting with mini breakouts. So there'll be a few sessions that you'll see in the program that are only 30 minutes long, except for Connection Crew's Joyful Masterclass. That one is going to be a full 75 minutes, and that starts at 1 o'clock. So just wanted to call that out so you know that not all of those sessions are 30 minutes. All right, so now I'm excited to introduce Alcia Archer from Stretch It, who's going to come up on stage and lead us through a short, fun stretching exercise, maybe to alleviate a little bit of stress, but absolutely get us a little bit more energy for the day. So everyone, please welcome Alicia.
Oh, I have the mic on the blouse. You know, that is the first time I ever heard my name pronounced that way. It's Alicia, but thank you.
I'm sorry, Alicia.
I'll add it to the archives.
Thank you for correcting me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Alicia, you know, I guess because the Italian way with the CI in there, you know? I don't blame them. How's everyone today? Thank you so much. Well, let me stand up first because I wanted to make a point to look extra fancy today so that we could drive the point home that you can stretch anytime, anywhere, to make a connection with productivity, to improve it, to improve your focus, and it's become indisputable at this point. The literature is there, and we've always known it intuitively that movement is a good thing. But there seems to still be a disconnect in the culture where, yeah, you'll get to it after you leave the office, but there's not enough encouragement and incentive to actually move where you are when you're at the desk sitting. And with the musculoskeletal issues that are emerging, in short, when your body hurts a lot, is coming from the fact that we're not moving enough. But then we say, okay, well, I'm gonna take this class and I wanna do this, and the ambitions start to increase like raging fire, and then life laughs at us and say, oh, you're not taking any class, maybe at least for the next 6 months, so figure it out. But at Stretch It, we encourage, okay, maybe you won't be able to take that long half-hour or even hour class, but can you move for 5 minutes while sitting at your desk? And you might think, well, what good does that do? Well, it's a small catalyst, but a significant one, because when repeated over and over again over the course of several days and weeks, you'll be surprised at how much range of motion you can acquire with these smaller efforts done over time. And again, back to the outfit, you can do this with the blazer on, with not the super fancy leggings on, right? You can wear the athletic wear, because I have a bunch, I get it. It's fun to wear. But sometimes you have to move where you are. So today's demonstration, I would like to show you a few of my favorite go-to movements that you can do at your desk, seated. And for those watching at home, you could definitely join in on the fun, because whether you work at the office or you find yourself working at home or any type of environment where you are seated, you can make these movements happen. So that sound like a plan? Excellent. So I'm gonna get in the chair. Again, fancy outfit will not hinder us from moving and grooving. Oh, thank you, friend. So hands on the thighs, let's take the shoulder circles up and around. And it doesn't have to be huge, but what this does is invite a small or slower breath, because sometimes when we're trying to find ourselves in the fight or flight response and getting out of that, it requires us to breathe a little slower, and stretching is a vehicle for us to take that slower breath. So let's inhale on the up, exhale on the down. And if you find, like, you know, you got that email and it's getting you kind of crazy, so this is where the shoulder roll comes in. You're like, all right, before I respond, it'll just start as a draft first. Let me do this. Okay. Let's take 2 more. 1 more. Excellent. Now just round forward and purposefully create a tortoiseshell shape with your spine. And now just nudge side to side. And I have my hands over the knees here just to add for the maneuvering, so you can get that nice stretch when you shift right and left. Cool. Let's sit up tall, interlace both fingers, and push the palms forward. And let's steer the car. Wrists take a beating because they're not left to do much except typing and holding devices all day. But if you can get a little more range of motion there, it'll be quite helpful, especially if you undergo any wrist issues. Let's release one hand. It could be right or left. Push the palm forward and pull the fingers in. So if you could take a wrist break, I know it could be a little intense. You're like, what's happening? If you could take a little wrist break throughout the day, maybe set that timer and name it wrist stretch for every half hour or so, it'll be tremendously helpful. Let's switch sides. Excellent. And again, use the stretch as the opportunity to slow down that breath. Wonderful. Let's release. Bring hand overhead and just gently pull the ear down to the shoulder, the stiff neck, and all that is attributed to the fact that, yes, the neck will appreciate a little more movement too. Make sure you don't pull so much that it's painful, but just enough where you feel it on the opposite side. Take it to the other side. Good. And hold it for as long, if you're doing this on your own, hold it for as long as you feel good enough to release. Excellent. And now we take a twist to one side. Twist is a go-to position because despite how, it's like, hey neighbor, despite how much we are in pursuit of the perfect posture, the reality is that we should pursue a moving posture. Let's switch sides because our spine doesn't like to be still, whether it's upright or rounded forward. This is the go-to because if you don't have a lot of space, you just twist. Super. Let's release. And now just tilt your shoulders side to side. So getting into more of a little bit of a side bend situation here. And this is where a lot of stiffness occurs because we rarely get to move. And if your pelvis wants to join in on the fun, you could let it. It's like, okay, come on. It wants to be a little festive too. Listen, we get a lot of, I want to have, more open hips. Well, you got to move it or else they'll forget that they move at all. Okay. And now let's go back into the arch and curl. Well, let's do it here. Let's lift up, breath in, exhale, curl. It's a little bigger than how we started. Lift up and curl. 2 more. And curl. 1 more. And curl. Excellent. Lift it up. And let's take the arms up overhead. Exhale, just release. Take 1 more. And release. And you're done. That is it. That is it. So if you ever want, again, I know this might feel a little overwhelming because I just showed you maybe 5 to 8 different stretches that you can do, but you could easily take 2 or 3 of them. Shoulder roll, neck, wrist, there, you have your flow. You repeat those movements maybe 2 or 3 times every hour or every half hour just to give your body a break. And this will also maybe make you more inclined to go outside, take a walk. And then, of course, if you ever wanted to do more fitness, then that's later down the line. But we have to start where we are. So hopefully this inspired you just to get a little more movement throughout your day, but in a way that's more accessible and that's not going to require a huge ton of bandwidth. Make sure you're able to visit us at our booth. We have the laptop out if you want to take a demo session to see how it is, and we'll love to have you. Thank you again for the opportunity, everyone.
Just one more quick announcement before we kick things off here. Our partners at PFN are hosting today a pretty cool activity from 11 to 3 p.m. at the studio. So you're able to actually record a 10-minute video session in the studio, some kind of powerful message about leading meaningful work. They're calling it a leadership declaration. And PFN will create the short video for you. They'll have it all ready to go, so there's no prep needed. Just bring your voice. They make it fun and simple. There is limited space, though, so it's first come, first serve from 11 to 3 p.m. You can find them at the PFN booth in the hallway. All right, let's kick things off here. Day 2, CultureCon. We have Andrew Bishop, our opening keynote speaker, who knows a thing or two about recognition, relationships, and rallying a team, whether that team is in the boardroom or on the ball field. Andrew Bishop is the president of RecogNation, where he leads with a mission to help organizations build stronger cultures through the power of recognition. He also serves as Vice President and Chair of Education and Certification for Recognition Professionals International, where he has been instrumental in revamping the Certified Recognition Professional curriculum and has personally certified over 100 practitioners. But Andrew's leadership story doesn't stop there. He's also a proud girl dad, a high school softball coach, and a former collegiate baseball player. Through all of those experiences, coaching teams, leading teams, and being a part of teams, he's learned one key truth. Great teams don't just have talent, they have trust, connection, and a shared sense of purpose, a roadmap for success, and a steady flow of feedback and positive affirmation. Today, Andrew brings his passion for education, training, and culture building to help us reimagine what recognition can do when it's no longer just a thank you, but a strategic driver of engagement and performance. Let's welcome Andrew to the stage.
Move it, let's move it. There's my group right there, yes. I like to move it, move it. Come on, stretch those bodies. Let's bring that energy. I like to move it, move it. All right, thank you for that. So today we're going to get into beyond the thank you and talk about recognition as a strategy and a skill that ignites performance within our teams and with our organizations. So before we dive in, can we just do a round of applause for everybody? And like, CultureCon has been amazing. Madison has been amazing. I don't know if you participated in the scavenger hunt yesterday, but that was a lot of fun. There was a moment, though, where like you'll see the competitor come out in me, and we had to press our face up against this glass so you could get a picture on the other side. And I think my team picked the dirtiest door they could find, and I just went full in for it, face, mouth, nose pressed up, and then I realized, oh crap, I have to speak tomorrow morning. What if I come down with something nasty tonight? Because I'm not sure what was on that door. But here we are. We're going to have fun. So yes, my name is Andrew Bishop. I am the president of RecogNation. Also serve as the executive vice president for the board of directors for Recognition Professionals International. Over the past 3 years, I've spent a lot of time rewriting the Certified Recognition Professional curriculum. And we'll get more into that in a second, because that's been a transformational experience for me as a leader in this industry for over 12 years. Rewriting that Certified Recognition Professional curriculum has really transformed the way I think about recognition. A little bit about me, you heard it in the intro. Yes, I'm a girl dad, well outnumbered in the Bishop household. I got a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old. Yes, I'm in it. I don't even have a boy dog. I do like to golf, so that's my excuse to get out a little bit. But because I didn't have enough women in my life, I decided, why not coach high school softball, varsity girls? All right, as a 41-year-old man, let's jump into the sport and coach and walk alongside of 16, 17, 18-year-old young ladies. I can tell you the impact that they've had on my life and how I think about recognition and culture and appreciation has been far more than what I could ever give to them. So a little bit about RPI, really quickly. Switch. There we go. So RPI, for those not familiar with Recognition Professionals International, is a nonprofit industry association made up of suppliers like RecogNation who sponsor it, as well as over 1,000 practitioner members that come together, really lower the competitive and industry guard down to share and discuss best practice standards, to talk about the challenges facing their recognition programs. And what's RPI has developed over the past 20 years are the following 7 best practice standards around, in order to run an effective recognition program, you need a sound recognition strategy. We need defined roles and responsibilities, strong program measurement, supporting communications, training, events and celebration, and program change and flexibility. We're not going to spend a lot of time going into these 7 best practice standards today. Instead, what I want to do is walk through the following question with all of you. What is recognition? How many of us would feel qualified to come up here and give a keynote on what recognition is? Okay, maybe a couple people. I can tell you, when I tell people what I do, who are not from HR or don't really think about culture very often, they look at me like I work for Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory. They're like, what do you mean? What is this recognition thing we talk about? I've been in the industry for over 12 years, leading recognition. My wife still can't tell people what I do. She's like, well, I think he sells recognition or something. She gets some questions and always defaults to, well, I think he just sells trophies. And I'm like, babe, we've talked about it. It's way more than just selling trophies. Okay? So what is recognition? If you had to define it in your own words, if you had to explain recognition to somebody else, how would you describe it? Follow-up question, even more important. Why do people need recognition? So they feel good. All right, we got some answers out there. Okay? We are going to walk through defining what recognition is and why people need it together today. Okay? Okay? Here's a very important question. And if anyone can answer yes to this, come see me afterwards, because I'll write you a $1,000 check, and we'll do a little case study on you, because I want to study you. Okay? I want to study you. And that question is, can anyone in this room identify a healthy and thriving relationship, personally or professionally, where feedback is absent? Expression of gratitude is non-existent, and positive reinforcement is never offered. Think about that. Can anyone find that healthy and thriving relationship that you have, personally or professionally, where these 3 elements do not exist? Okay? All recognition is, at the end of the day, is feedback. It's expression of gratitude, and it's positive reinforcement. It doesn't need to be this elevated event and celebration, right? It's simply feedback. And beyond that, as we get into defining what recognition is, it's a fundamental human need. As we've just discussed together, it's essential to every healthy and thriving relationship that exists in the world today. It's not just a nice to have. It's critical to healthy and thriving relationships. Next, I want to get into a couple of supporting psychological frameworks. This one is probably the most familiar. So if by show of hands, how many people in this room are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? All right. I don't have to spend a lot of time on this model, right? We're all motivated through the pursuit of unfulfilled needs. Now, where recognition really comes into play is really in the understanding and acknowledgement that, our organizations, our individual teams within the organizations, and the individuals within those teams all ebb and flow up and down at different points in their career or over the course of the year based on the things that are happening around them with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We can grow and climb in that ladder, and we can regress really quickly and be worried about psychological safety based on something gone wrong, right? So what recognition does do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs when administered effectively is it actually supports Maslow's hierarchy of needs in a variety of different ways. Number one, when you are giving recognition, it does foster connection and belonging. It communicates that you're valued here, and it addresses psychological safety. And so it helps individuals climb out of safety. Recognition also fosters love and belonging and connection in community. I often say, I have yet to this day seen 2 individuals get in a fist fight when one person gives the other person recognition. It doesn't build up walls. It doesn't create silos. It has a way of breaking down walls and bringing people together. Right? Recognition also has a way of boosting someone's esteem. Rarely have I seen someone receive recognition put their head down and their shoulders slouch and look out of the corner of their eyes and feeling deflated, right? So it does build our self-esteem when you're receiving recognition and praise and expression of gratitude. And recognition, when done properly, communicates a path to growth and success. And so it supports Maslow's hierarchy of needs in so many different ways for our team members. Now, by a show of hands, how many of us are familiar with the ABC model? Okay, we've got a couple in here, not as prevalent as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what the ABC model really gets into is the fact and the reality that there are antecedents or events and triggers in our life that happen every day in the form of expectations, new projects, different situations that lead to behaviors or observable actions. Okay? And what's very interesting about the ABC model, whether we know it or not, I've heard this in a couple of other sessions, right? Our brains are psychologically wired to do what? To survive, right? To protect us. We're obsessively on the lookout for danger. And so unfortunately, we are always scanning the horizons for threats. And we're looking for either positive consequences or negative consequences to how we show up, how we act, the things that we do and say. And because our brains are looking out for danger, when there's no feedback, you know what we interpret that as? Danger, a threat, a negative consequence. And so when I show up and I go above and beyond, or I do something extra, or I'm living out values, and there's no positive affirmation or reinforcement offered, what does that communicate? Danger, Will Robinson, right? Maybe we need to try something different, right? Maybe we need to alter and try a different approach, right? It's happening right up here. I'm reading the room. Is what I'm saying connecting? Is it landing? Is it positive affirmation? Or do I need to adapt and change really quickly, right? And so what recognition is a positive consequence. It's positive affirmation. When individuals live out things that we value, the best thing that we can do for them is to let them know. I really appreciated when you did X, Y, and Z, or thank you for the way you showed up in this meeting today. Thank you for raising your hand and contributing. Thank you for getting into, I like to move it, right? Expression of gratitude, positive affirmation. And so let's go back to what recognition is. Recognition is not only a fundamental human need, it's not only essential to any healthy and thriving relationship that exists in the world today, but it's how we communicate to others what we value. It is positive affirmation and reinforcement. Okay, so it's an essential human need. It's critical to healthy and thriving relationships with our loved ones and with our teammates. And it's how we communicate what we value to individuals. What holds recognition back? And what holds it back in our workplace? I want you to think about that a second. Where is recognition very prevalent within your organization? And where is it lacking? What holds it back? Well, here's 5 things that we run across all the time. Number 1 is inconsistent adoption and utilization of recognition by our frontline leaders. Right? Our programs, if you have a recognition program, they often live and die with our frontline leaders. Now, I don't want to just blame our leaders. It's not that they don't want to engage in recognition. I think there's a big misunderstanding of impact. I can tell you, recognition and even just human behavior and motivation wasn't a part of my core curriculum in business school. Spent a lot of time talking about finance and strategy and accounting and marketing and administration and other practices. We didn't spend a lot of time on this. And I can tell you, when I first entered the corporate world, like many of you, there's probably, you were introduced to a corporate world where there's a certain way to act, there's a certain way to dress, and above all, check your emotions at the door and let your performance do the talking. Because if you want the opportunity to grow and advance with this organization, you better be one of the top performers. So what does that tend to focus on as leaders? I often say, before I stepped in this world of recognition, when I first stepped into it 12 years ago, I was like, what is this world of rainbows and unicorns and butterflies and all these positive feelings? Because I can tell you, prior to that, I was the leader that had it wrong for far too long. I was a very performance-oriented leader. I leaned into processes. I wanted to unlock greater levels of profitability for our organization. You know what? The funny thing is I lost sight of our people. I lost sight of our greatest asset available to our disposal to unlock greater levels of performance and profits. That order actually matters, that when you focus on profits and performance and you lose sight of your purpose and your people, you actually get less of what you're in pursuit of. And so there's misunderstanding of impact and utilization. There's no clear targets. A lot of times, yes, we're a recognition company. People say, I want a platform. Great, what are we pointing it at? What are we telling managers to be on the lookout for? How are we going to utilize this platform? Because I can tell you, there's no magic tools. Just buying a recognition platform, putting it into the ecosystem and say, go, recognize. It doesn't drive adoption and utilization. Again, managers are running around with a lot of lack of time. They're going from meeting to meeting to meeting, report to report, demand to demand, being on the lookout for the things that we value and want to recognize is not always front of mind. And what gets measured is what gets done. And so if there's not measurement from a performance rubric standpoint and expectations for providing feedback and affirmation to our team members, and all I'm held accountable to is my department KPIs, guess what I'm going to fixate on, right? So let's talk about some common misconceptions that I run across in my role. Well, this is my favorite one. We pay people to do a job, isn't that enough? My favorite opportunity is to sit down with CFOs, and they're like, you want me to buy my employees loyalty and happiness? Well, no. Or compensation and how we process that is very different than recognition and what that communicates. In fact, if we go to how our brain works, with the neocortex in our frontal lobe, where logic is, versus the limbic system, where emotions live, right? Compensation is a black and white, logical, relational, or not relational, rational relationship that's rooted in obligation, right? How many of us get married because of the marriage contract and you just want to put that ring on the finger out of obligation? I can tell you, my wife didn't sign up for that, right? No, we want relationships rooted in inspiration, in emotional connection, in commitment. And so if all I do is focus on compensation, right? Well, then can I really be mad when my team member quits for 25 cents more an hour to go right next door and do a similar job? No, because if all we've done is establish a black and white relationship that's rooted in logic, well, that's rational. That's more logical. Same amount of effort, greater return. Why wouldn't I jump ship? Another misconception we run across is that recognition should be organic. It's just going to naturally occur. Our leaders are good at it. They'll know what to do. Right? I like this one. Recognition should come from leadership. It's a top-down driven activity. As we talked about yesterday, it takes everybody to build culture. Right? And actually, there's no better way to transform your employee experience in your employee journey than to provide affirmation and feedback to your supervisor on the things that they do that you value and would like to see replicated again and again and again. It's a two-way street. I value receiving recognition from my team members just as much as they value receiving it from me. Hopefully nobody believes this one. We've already addressed that. Recognition's a nice to have, not a need to have. I know this next one's going to sound funny from a guy that runs a recognition company and benefits from all of you buying trophies and awards and putting big budgets behind it, be the first one to tell you that recognition does not need to be accompanied with a big budget, a big reward, or a celebration. Because if that's our mindset, it holds the power of recognition back. And it ties it to the big events and celebrations and limits the frequency of which we're providing feedback and affirmation. Another one, this is a hard one for me. As a competitor, as a former baseball player, former baseball coach, and softball coach, I can tell you coaching 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls, they put this square in my face all the time. Recognition's not reserved for the big wins, the milestones, and the accomplishments. If all I did was show up and offer praise and affirmation when we won softball games and when they performed, what kind of team would I have? And would these girls be willing to show up and run through walls for me on a daily basis? No, recognition's not tied to outcomes. It's not tied to big accomplishments and milestones. Recognition lives in the small moments and the positive affirmation of the little actions, the behaviors, the decisions, even the learnings and losses that lead to successful outcomes. So how do we combat these challenges? How do we use recognition in a more strategic way and develop these skills within our organization so that we can have a culture where gratitude and appreciation and recognition is abundant? Let's first talk about recognition as a strategy. So one of my favorite things that came out of the RPI curriculum that we wrote is this hourglass model. I want you to take a look at this a second. Because the way this works here is at the very top, right? All of our organizations, maybe not all, but the majority of us have vision, mission, and values that we focus on from an organization standpoint. We even talked about being very intentional about how we want to design our culture, incorporating feedback loops and how we reinforce that culture on a regular basis, right? So we have our vision, we have our mission, we have our values, and then we have our organizational strategy. What are our 5-year kind of goals? What are those 3-year BHAGs and targets? We break that down into annual objectives, to critical themes, to quarterly priorities, things that we need to be in pursuit of. And right below those objectives are the desired behaviors, actions, and results that ladder up to that. Well, where recognition really comes into play from a strategic standpoint, if we want to drive measurable business performance, is our recognition programs, okay, and practices should ladder up to a recognition strategy that is pointed at and aimed at those same desired actions, values, and behaviors that we're looking to reinforce. There needs to be strong organizational linkage between where we're going and what we value as an organization to what we are communicating that we value, recognize, and praise on a regular basis. And when you successfully create that linkage, okay, recognition is not only a fundamental human need, it's not only how we communicate what we value, but it becomes a strategic lever to elevated performance and culture. It helps you bring it to life. It gets recognition off the sideline in the discretionary HR budget world where you just kind of set it and forget it, and actually starts to be a vehicle that we can use to get our C-suite and our leadership team fired up about, because if we can increase the probability of success by aligning our people, unifying them, unlocking their potential, and affirming them as they're working towards our organizational objectives and goals, if we can increase the probability of success by investing in recognition programs and giving managers the tools and the skills to bring this to life, that's something we can get excited about. It's not just this nice-to-have HR feel-good program where we send birthday cards and recognize anniversaries. Next, let's talk about recognition as a skill. I'm sure many of you have seen these alarming Gallup statistics. 75% of workers who voluntarily left and quit their job didn't do so because of the organization, didn't do so because of the role, did so because of their manager and a breakdown of a relationship of that manager. In fact, Gallup goes on to say 70% of the variance in that team's engagement and happiness and performance is determined solely to the manager. How many of us get a little scared by that stat? Right? That's okay. I won't tell. I won't tell. In fact, Gallup went on to write a book saying it's the manager. Right? The highlighted the importance of the relationship or lack thereof or the performance of our frontline leaders. And so one of the best things that we can do for our leaders is develop recognition as a skill, because it is a skill that increases and enhances manager effectiveness. And so if we can give them the tools and we can give them the skills to be more effective in their jobs, if they're not interested in that, well, then maybe we got the wrong leaders in place. So what does recognition as a skill look like? Well, it starts with observation. We have to train our people leaders to be on the lookout and attuned to and aware of the things that we want to positively reinforce, recognize, and affirm. And so part of that starts with giving them the values, our critical messages, our themes, examples, right, of the things that we want to recognize and shine a light on within our organization that ladder up to organizational goals. But it starts with observation. And I can tell you, it's very easy to go from meeting to meeting, dive in one email to the next email, right? Run around to the office. You got to line up at your door. All they want to do is dump more problems and fires on you. And it's very easy to navigate day in and day out with blinders on and not being attuned or aware to the things that are happening on a daily basis within your teams that you value and want to see replicated again. Second part of recognition as a skill is personalization. Okay, and there's horror stories of all this going wrong, right? Like, I'm going to get my team member a $25 gift card to Starbucks. Great. Guess what? They don't like coffee. Right? Getting to know your team members so you can make recognition personalized and actually lean into it, that when we do give rewards or recognition, that it actually ties back to the things that they value, their interests, their favorite hobbies, right? That matters. The other day, I had a team member walk in my office and bring in a bag of nacho cheese Doritos with a Diet Coke. That was the best recognition I've received all year, right? That's all I needed. Bring me the nacho cheese Doritos and a Diet Coke. For any of you wandering the lobby last night, you saw me with my nacho cheese Doritos. I raided that canteen down there. Okay? Being personalized, getting to understand your team members, meeting them where they are, showing interest in their hobbies, their likes. Their interest goes a long way to furthering our culture. Okay? Being authentic. Can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, well, my leader just kind of gives recognition for them, right? They're checking the box. They're doing the activity. We're missing the authenticity, or the being authentic and genuine there. Being specific. The general attaboy or, Lucas, I appreciate you. Great job at the show. Okay, great. Andrew said, I appreciate you and great job at the show. But what did I do that he actually values and he appreciated? How did I show up? What were the actions? What were the behaviors? What were the things that I specifically did so that I can do it again and again and again? Because receiving recognition feels good, and so I want to live out those values and behaviors and actions again. Being timely with it. If I wait till 6 months from now to thank Lucas for his efforts and how we showed up in the preparation and making sure that we were set up for success here at CultureCon, and I saved it for 6 months from now, how impactful is that going to be? Versus all of the moments of stress and anxiety and impact that have happened in between that time. Being consistent with it, I'll be the first to admit this is an area of my recognition as a skill that I need to get better at. With the travels, with the meetings, with everything else, I go through ebbs and flows. My team will tell you. There are periods of times where I'm really good at it, and there are periods of times where I get up on stage and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. That's hit me square in the face. It's probably been a little bit since I've affirmed my team members. And so I need to get better at that too, being inclusive with it. Recognition is not reserved for our top performers. Our middle of the road performers, and maybe even our struggling and bottom performers, might need that nudge of positive affirmation the most. They might need that little boost of self-esteem. They need to know that they're still on the right track, that even though their performance isn't there, they're showing up in the right way. Because if their performance isn't there and they're not at the top of the team, what's kicking off for them? Fight or flight, psychological, safety issues. And so we can walk alongside of them, take away some of that fight or flight response, address psychological safety, give them those little boosts of encouragement and knowledge that they need. And we call recognition as a skill and a manager effectiveness skill, and we label it this way as a reason, is because with all skills require intentionality. They require practice. They require effort and refinement. I've yet to run into someone that's just naturally born to be a recognition evangelist and just does it right every single time. Right? You need to practice it. You need to assess your skills. You need to set goals and KPIs about the things that you want to do to be better at your game. Give yourself mini challenges to improve this skill set. Very critical. And so if we go back to defining what recognition is, it is what? A fundamental human need, essential to any healthy and thriving relationship. It's how we communicate to others what we value. It is a strategic lever to elevated performance and to building the culture that we want. And it's also a skill. It's a management effectiveness skill. Okay, here's another big question for you. What are the keys to surviving a long road trip? Okay, let me set this up. I'm from Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan. So you guys probably know what my winters are like, right? For those not familiar that sit on this side of the lake, okay, you're a little more blessed with some sunlight and you don't get that cloud cover that we get. I was telling people at dinner the other night that I think last year we went from like November 28 to like March something without seeing the sun. So my wife has strategically figured out how to take advantage of that. It's about February every year that I'm sitting at work and I start getting the ding on my phone and VRBOs start popping in. She's planting that seed, that spring break is around the corner, and I know you want that sun, Andrew, so we're going to do some crazy things. We're going to load 4 girls up into the minivan, and we're going to drive 20 hours south until we find the beach, and we're going to sit through the traffic jam with Wisconsin, with Ohio, with Indiana, and with all of Michigan trying to do the same thing. We need warmth and we need sunshine. And so let's go through Nashville and sit there for 2 hours. Let's fight the traffic in Atlanta, right? So what are the keys to surviving a long road trip? Anyone have one? Oh, nailed it. Right? First one, snacks. Right? And a couple other things. And so actually under your seats, I have some Albanese gummy bears because that's one of my family's favorite snacks. So everyone can reach under a seat and you get a little snack on this road trip, okay? You get one, you get one, you get one. Yes! If you haven't held up with these gummy bears, you are welcome. Yes! There we go. All right, so other than snacks, what are the keys to surviving a long road trip? You need a car? Okay. All right, let's take a look at that. Number one is you need a purpose for it. I don't know anyone in their right mind who's signing up for a 20-hour road trip in a minivan with 4 girls because it's a fun thing to do. It's not fun, I'll tell you. Right? My wife says, like, I get into this zone, I'll listen to a book with one AirPod in, and she's like, you just go comatose. Like, you're focused on the road, you don't even know what's going on in the van. Yeah, we got our roles and responsibilities here, right? Having a purpose for that, like, that's why she sends it to me in February every year. If she started planting that seed in, October or November, it's easier to say no. But after a long winter in all the code, she knows that she's going to wear me down and I'm going to eventually say yes. Then having a plan. Are we doing this in one full swoop? Hey, should we get the kids out early, like on a Wednesday, and try to drive through the night and beat all the traffic? Well, guess what? Everybody else is doing that too. So are we going to do it in 2 days? Are we going to stop somewhere along the way? Where are we going to stop? Like, what is the plan? Number 2 is you want to bring the right people. Again, I don't know anyone that's signing up for a 20-hour road trip with complete strangers. Let's play road trip roulette. See who you get on your team. Right? We want to gamify the trip. How many of us sit there and be like, 1 minute down, 19 hours, 59 minutes to go. We don't focus on the pain, right? We want to gamify it, play the license plate game, celebrate different things. We enjoy snacks, right? Bring all the favorite movies, the favorite music. My wife checks out into the books, right? We try to gamify the experience. And how many of us, regardless if we had all the snacks, had the right purpose, had the right plan, brought the right people, and we gamified it, would go on that road trip with me without a GPS? I don't think anyone's signing up for. Oh, you would?
I like paper maps.
Oh, paper maps, okay. Or would go without a paper map, right? Would go without a navigation system. Well, why? Because here's what a GPS does for you. It helps you align on the end destination. It provides suggestions on what the best route to take is. It focuses on the very next step in action that you need. It doesn't tell you what you need to do 18 hours from now. It says in 1.2 miles you need to turn right. And when you do it, it gives you like that little positive affirmation and ding and be like, here we go. Now you get to do this in 252 miles. We're going to veer left. Good luck. But most importantly, it jumps in an instant and says recalculation, course correction. It doesn't wait until I'm 2 hours in the wrong direction before it says, oh, hey, sorry, forgot to tell you. You're headed north. You're going in the wrong direction. Isn't this really not too different than the employment journey and what our team members need to survive? Don't our team members need alignment on the end destination? Right? They want to know, like if I go back a slide here to the employment journey, right? Our team members sign up because they want to be aligned with our purpose. They want to know that leadership has a plan and the right strategy, right? They want to make sure that we're onboarding the right people onto our bus, right? That we can be connected with, that we can enjoy this journey with. We want to gamify the experience and make the employment journey fun. We want to use a GPS, right? And know who our GPSs are? It's our frontline leaders. Isn't this what we need our frontline leaders to be? To be the human GPS for our team members? For our leaders to walk alongside of their team members, to align on the end destination, provide suggestions on what the best path forward is for them, what route to take, to help focus our team members, focus like what they're fixated on to that next action, that next step, the next best decision they can make, to provide affirmation and security along the way, aka recognition, and to be willing to jump in an instant and say, time out, course correction, recalculation. Because we're rooted in, we said we want to go here, we're starting to veer off course. And so we got to have that crucial conversation. Critical to building the culture we want, to elevating performance. So let's go back to what recognition is. It's a fundamental human need. It's how we communicate what we value. It's a strategic lever for performance and culture. It's a skill. It's also a GPS. It can serve as a GPS. Okay? Provides that positive affirmation, helps communicate and reinforce what success looks like, and keeps us going on that journey. How many of you wrote all of this down when I said, what is recognition? All right? Okay, a couple of hands. So why do people need recognition? Why do people need recognition? The reality is, team members, They want to know that their work matters. They want to know that they matter, right? They just don't want to be managed. They want to be seen. They want to be valued. And they want to be connected to something that is bigger than themselves. Right? They want to know that they're heading in the right direction. But more importantly, I believe that recognition is the greatest gift that we can give somebody. And it doesn't need to come from leadership, it can come from a peer. Nobody in this world knows whether I had a great day at work or a bad day at work more than the 4 girls that I come home to every night. They feel it more than anybody. The good days and the bad days. Whether we know it or not, like, work deeply impacts our lives, right? And we carry work with us home so often that it does have a profound impact in how we show up for others outside of the workplace and how we show up for our loved ones, right? There are those days where they're hard days. My girls kind of know that, hey, Dad might be a little bit on edge, might be a little bit quicker to snap than normal. And so I like to think about if we build a culture of gratitude appreciation, where feedback and positive affirmation is abundant, and we embed that deeply into our culture, where every team member contributes to positively impacting somebody else's day. That when they receive that moment of recognition, and they feel that elevated boost of esteem, and they feel seen, they feel valued, and they feel connected, they're showing up better for their loved ones. As parents, as spouses, as friends, right? I believe that recognition has a ripple effect that extends far beyond the workplace. And unfortunately, we've all seen it. We are in an era of mental health crisis. We never know what somebody's carrying in their backpack and what they're navigating day in and day out. As a leader that lost a team member to suicide and a mental health problem earlier this year, that's not a phone call you want. It's not a phone call you want. And it's not a day that you want to experience. The what ifs. What if we just pulled her aside? What if somebody happened to mention that one thing she did really well that day? Does that give us one extra day? Does it give us one extra day? And she was new to our organization, and my greatest regret is I just wish we had more time, because I don't know what would have been. Because if she would have saw in her what we saw in her, she would still be with us today and hopefully on the path to being healthy and thriving. Recognition's serious. Yes, it drives business performance. Yes, it helps us achieve the culture we want. But most importantly, it's the greatest gift that we can give somebody else, because we don't know what they're dealing with. And maybe just taking that moment to acknowledge them, to let them know they're seen, to let them know they're valued, to let them know that they belong here, that they're on the right track and they're doing the right things. You do not know the profound ripple effect that it can have in their lives. Trying to advance the next slide here. My name's Andrew Bishop. I was the leader that had it wrong for far too long. I'm grateful to be a girl dad. To feel those emotions and lead with authenticity and vulnerability. I'm grateful to coach high school girls that challenge me in how I show up every single day. I'm grateful to have stepped into this world of rewards and recognition because of the profound impact that it has. And so if you would like to learn more about RPI or the CRP curriculum, you can scan that QR code and it'll take that there. If you are interested in connecting, you want to learn more, talk more about this topic, you can send me an email or come see my team at our booth out there. I want to thank all of you for, one, being present here today, for being an awesome crowd and audience, but more importantly, for all the connections and the energy and the experience that you've provided me over the past couple days. This is a conference that is like no others, and so thank you, Nick and Zach, for your mission and vision and all that you have done here, because this is truly a powerful conference where you can build community and foster connection. And so thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. With that, that's my time. I hope you all have a blessed day and look forward to connecting later.
All right, keep it going for Andrew and RecogNation.
Nice work, man. That was awesome.
All right, if you have questions, I know we're a little over time, so we're going to save the Q&A for if you want to visit the RecogNation booth. Andrew will be there with the team. Awesome presentation. We have a quick break right now, and then we'll get into our first breakout session. So again, same rooms as yesterday, one here, two to my left over there. So enjoy the break, and we'll see you in the next breakout.